Kore Mwapeduka, and welcome to Africa Good Morning, the show that keeps you up to date with the latest news in Africa and beyond. My name is Glenora Shipura. Let's take a look at what you can expect in today's broadcast. High Court declares exclusive Afrikaner township in Pretoria illegal. Nigeria detains tailors who made Russian flags for anti-government protests. And in Tanzania wants to evict Maasai for wildlife, but they are fighting back. We'll also be talking to Ari Hochad, who'll be filling us in on the latest news in South Africa. We'll be right back after this.
Neo Paints has established a 67-year Namibian legacy, creating personalized paint solutions that blend quality and innovation for the Namibian people. We pride ourselves in being a 100% Namibian-owned company, investing in our country and our people by employing and empowering true Namibians. With every brushstroke, Neo Paints commits to our quality guarantee and always delivering a coat of excellence. At Neo Paints, we always stay true to our country. We are as Namibian as you.
Getting into our top stories, the High Court in Pretoria on Friday declared the exclusive Afrikaner township of Kleinfontein in the east of Pretoria illegal and ruled that those living in the 650-odd houses there are acting illegally. The directors of Kleinfontein Andel Block EDM's BPK have been acting illegally by allowing shareholders to use the land it owns for residential purposes without complying with several legal requirements, the court found. It ordered the city of Tshwane to immediately take appropriate steps to enforce all relevant laws relating to planning and building regulation in as far as it relates to the farms comprising the Kleinfontein settlement. While criminal prosecution is one option open to the council, the court refrained from dictating which remedy the local authority should implement. Kleinfontein is a substantial settlement on land zoned for agricultural use. It was established by the Boereverheidsbeweging in the late 1990s as a growth point for Afrikaner self-determination and consists of at least 650 houses, a school, a community hall, a shopping center, an old-age home, and a light industrial area. The land has, however, never been rezoned and subdivided, and no building plans have been passed by the local authority. The board of Kleinfontein Andel Block, which manages the community, provides basic services. It uses groundwater and electricity each supplied by Eskom at an increased tariff to cover its cost. Although not addressed in the judgment, it is known that Kleinfontein has been underpaying hugely on its property rates, and the cash-strapped city of Tshwane has done little to address this over the years. In our next story, Nigeria has detained some tailors for making Russian flags that were waved during anti-government protests this week in northern states. The state's secret police said in a move that underscores concerns about increased Russian activity in Western Africa. The Department of State Services also said in a post on X that it had detained some of the tailors' sponsors without elaborating. It said an investigation was ongoing. It did not say how many tailors or sponsors had been detained. Nigeria's Chief of Defense Staff General Christopher Musa described the brandishing of a foreign flag during anti-government protests as a treasonable offense after he held security talks with President Bola Tinubu on Monday. We have identified those sponsoring them, and we're going to take serious action against that, Musa told reporters. Also, without elaborating, hundreds of thousands of Nigerians have been protesting since August 1st against Tinubu's painful economic reforms that have seen a partial end to petrol and electricity subsidies, currency devaluation, and inflation touching 3-decade highs. The protests have now ebbed after a deadly police crackdown in the northern states of Borno, Kaduna, Kano, and Katsina. Protesters were seen waving hundreds of Russian flags, with some calling for a military takeover, "We are waving the Russian flag because Tinubu's government is not listening to us. Russian presidents always support African nations' development, unlike other nations," Lawal Kodo, a 28-year-old protester in Kano, told Reuters. Getting to our next story, Joseph Oleshangai's theory is that government officials in his country, Tanzania, see people from his community as less than human. The 36-year-old human rights lawyer and member of the indigenous Maasai group is one of several at the forefront of a long-running fight to stop the government in the political capital, Dodoma, from forcefully evicting Maasai from areas around national parks. Officials say the evictions are to protect wildlife, but Maasai members have accused park rangers and security forces of intimidation and rights abuses, including killings, sexual assaults, and livestock seizures. Because the courts have not always ruled in favor of aggrieved Maasai, community members like Oleshangai have taken their complaints to the government's big funders from Germany to the European Union, urging them to withhold crucial funding and pressure the government to halt alleged violence. In late April, the World Bank yielded to petitions of rights violations in a massive park in the country's south and suspended new disbursements from $150 million grant, saying it was deeply concerned about right abuse allegations related to the project. Then in June, the EU crossed Tanzania of another $20 million conservation grant initially meant for the country and neighboring Kenya. Ana Pisonoro Hernandez, an EU spokeswoman, told Al Jazeera that Tanzania was removed after an internal review process. Ukraine on Monday, the 5th of August, criticized Mali's decision to sever diplomatic ties, calling it short-sighted and hasty. Kyiv stated that no evidence had been provided to implicate Ukraine in the fighting that resulted in the deaths of Malian soldiers and Russian mercenaries last month. The West African nation announced on Sunday it was immediately ending relations with Ukraine following comments from Ukraine's military spy agency regarding the late July clashes in northern Mali. Tuareg rebels claimed responsibility for the incident, reporting they had killed at least 84 Russian Wagner mercenaries and 47 Malian soldiers. This incident appears to be Wagner's most significant defeat since they began assisting Mali's military authorities against insurgent groups 2 years ago. Regrettably, Mali decided to sever relations without thoroughly examining the facts and circumstances of the incident and without providing any evidence of Ukraine's involvement, the Ukrainian Foreign Ministry stated. Following the clashes, Andriy Yusov, a spokesperson for Ukraine's military spy agency, mentioned on television that Malian rebels had received the necessary information to carry out the attack. Ukraine, which has been fending off Russian troops for over 29 months since Russia's full-scale invasion, did not confirm its involvement in the incident. Now, getting into the last of our top stories, Kamala Harris has picked Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, as her running mate in the U.S. presidential election. U.S. media have reported few people had Minnesota Governor Tim Walz on their early list of possible Kamala Harris vice presidential picks, but U.S. media now reports that he will be on the Democratic ticket. The former high school teacher and football coach won attention among Democrats for his affable style and ability to land rhetorical blows on Donald Trump without seeming too aggressive. The weird label he applied to the former president and his running mate became a Democratic mantra in just a matter of days, and it is now a standard part of Harris's stump speech. That concludes our top stories. On the other side of the break, we talk to Ari Hohat.
Welcome to Namibia, where adventure meets tranquility. With Enjoy, you have access to a wide range of accommodations to suit every traveler's taste and budget. Experience the finest dining and hospitality Namibia has to offer. Booking your dream accommodation is just a few clicks away with Enjoy. Join thousands of happy travelers who have trusted Enjoy for their Namibian getaway. Your gateway to unforgettable Namibian adventures. Visit us today at enjoy.my.na.
Now, here to bring us the state of affairs in South Africa is Ari Hohad. Good morning, Ari.
Yes, very good morning. Yes, always interesting. All the states of affairs happening in South Africa. Lots happening like in Namibia.
Great. Can we get into your first story? Zuma in court. Ramaphosa. Sorry, can we get quickly into your first story?
Yes, indeed. And it's an important story because of the political picture we have at the moment. The National Government of Unity, of course, and then the Mkhonto and Sizwe party that made good progress, got lots of votes in the elections. So that is former President Zuma. So he's approached the Constitutional Court again to overturn a ruling of 2023 from the High Court that said that he cannot prosecute the current President Ramaphosa in his private capacity. So it sounds strange, but what the former President Zuma has been doing is he tried that also with the prosecutor of his arms deal case, that is Mr. Downer. And Billy Downer was the person that is leading the government's legal case. He was unsuccessful for that as well. The reason why it was unsuccessful was the court said that there was no proof that Billy Downer leaked personal medical information of the former president, but it's all, as it's known in the media, a bit of delayed tactics because there's a big court case coming up, and that is next year, February the 6th. That is in 2025. That is when the arms deal corruption case against the former President Zuma will come up. But he's still trying to say that the Constitutional Court must allow him to challenge the former president, that is President Ramaphosa. And the reason he said is that he didn't protect him against the Billy Downer. So it doesn't seem like there's lots of reasons why the court will go that way, but it is a court case that is up there. But why it's important, it is a fight now between the ANC and the Mkhonto Sizwe on the leadership side. A former president of the ANC, expelled from the ANC, President Zuma, he's not happy, so there's a fight continuing between the current president and the former president. So it's not good for South Africa at the moment.
Now, could you tell us what's happening with Eskom? I know there's a lot of improvements in terms of no power shedding, but what's happening that side?
Yes, so it's strange for us in South Africa because we have more than 200 days without load shedding. So we have all these candles and camping lights that we have on standby, but it's not being used in the wintertime. Normally in the wintertime we need more electricity. But Eskom's been doing better with supplying power. What they've not been good at is getting money in. So that's a problem from the municipalities. So obviously there's hundreds of municipalities all over South Africa, but the municipalities owe Eskom 82.3 billion South African rand, and that puts Eskom under huge pressure for their maintenance and to be profitable. So Eskom also has got a lot of debt they need to pay back. So what happens is that Eskom supply the municipalities with electricity, and they supply it to the people in their region or in their but that is one example where it's not used in the right way. You can see all the lines there from that one pole going, that's unlawful. So everybody's tapping into the electricity system and just basically stealing electricity. So electricity goes out and no money comes back from the municipality. So that puts lots of pressure on Eskom. So the National Treasury is helping 71 overburdened municipalities to pay back some of that money. But it is a long process, so it's a big debt that they need to pay, 82.3 billion. It was just 20 billion 5 years ago, so it's growing all the time.
March. Now, Ari, I understand in your next story that there was an unemployment march. Can we get into this?
Yes, I think the economy is under pressure, and it is the bank's doing a little bit better. But what's happening in South Africa at the moment, because the economy is under pressure because of different reasons, it's a geopolitical uncertainty is obviously a big one. Inflation, high interest rates, unemployment. So those are just to mention a few. So the economy is under pressure, but the banks seem to be doing well. What's happening when people are struggling, they're taking out loans. Once if they can continue to pay back the loan, then the banks make more money. So that is some of the infrastructure. Obviously, we need the factories to work well. It was Nedbank that released some figures. It's the fifth largest bank in South Africa, and they said that the headlines earnings grew by 8% to 7.9 billion for the last 6 months. So that's good business for them. They seem to get their money back on loans, etc. They also have good activity on the Money app, grew by 16% to 2.6 billion people. So the bank's doing not too bad. They are doing well, but that is a slippery slope because South Africa's got a lots of personal debt, household debt, and government debt. So hopefully the economy can change, and at least there's electricity. But we hope that other sectors can also, like Transnet. Transnet has been awarded the worst port in Africa. So it's not good. So we need the ports to be better.
Now, getting into the last of your stories, can you tell us how the South African athletes are performing in the Paris Olympics?
Yes, we had a good start. We had a good start even before the opening ceremony. The rugby sevens was doing well, and just after the opening ceremony, they won a brilliant medal in the rugby sevens. Good swimmers. The Tatiana Smith won some medals as well, and but we're stuck on 4 medals. Unfortunately, haven't improved that. It's still a good achievement, but there's still some athletes that's in action over the weekend. One to look out for maybe is on Sunday. It is the women's marathon. I know that Lalia Johannes of Namibia is there in action. Hopefully she can get first, and then this woman, Gerda Steyn, can get 7. Or between Lalia Johannes and Gerda Steyn, they can figure out to win gold for Africa, Southern Africa. But it's going to be a tough task. Lots of incredible athletes that's going to be up with. Gerda Steyn, there in picture, was 15th in the last Olympic Games in Tokyo. So she can do the marathon, but she did that Comrades where the photo was taken. So hopefully she's still fit and fresh enough to achieve that. And that is Wade van Niekerk. He will be in action in the 200 meters. Hopefully he can get a medal there, and definitely in the 100 meter and 400 meter relays. So still hope for South Africa to have more medals coming. And we hold thumbs, especially for Halale Johannes on Sunday as well.
We are holding thumbs with you. Thank you so much, Ari Hochart, for bringing us this news from South Africa.
Yes, it's a big pleasure and a brilliant day for everyone. Bye-bye. Bye.
All right, let's take a look at our weather predictions before we return with economic news. Getting into our economic news, the World Bank rises, undermining its credibility as a champion of inclusive development if it resumes lending to Uganda despite the country's recent enactment of the Anti-Homosexuality Act. The executive director for sexual minorities in Uganda, Frank Mugisha, and a former senior World Bank country officer, Fabrice Houdard, read in an All Africa guest column. That concludes our economic news. Let's take a look at our economic indicators before we return once again with Ari, this time with the sports news.
Good day, everyone. Time for international sports news, and starting off with Olympics first. It is Olympic Games still continuing in France, in Paris, the 2024 Olympics. News from the soccer field, and that was two exciting semi-finals that was played. It was first the host, France. They through to the final. They had a tough game against Egypt. It had to go into extra time, but they beat Egypt by 3-1. It was Jean-Philippe Mateta that scored twice, and it is France in their first final in 40 years, and they will obviously play at home. And then they will play against Spain. Spain got the better of Morocco, also a tough game. They had to come back from 1 goal down, so it was Spain that beat Morocco by 2-1. So the final is between Spain and France. On to the athletics track, and exciting athletics that was. It was first the 800 meter for women. Great performance by Keely Hutchinson. She's from Great Britain, and she won her first gold ever in the 800 meters. She had a few silver medals before, and in second place it was Tsege Dugama. She's from Ethiopia. She got the silver medal in that race. Mary Mura of Kenya got the bronze. On to pole vault, and it was an excellent performance by the world record holder, that is Armand Duplantis. He's from Sweden. He's born in the USA, now jumping for Sweden, and he bettered his own world record as well in winning gold in the pole vault. 6.25 is his height, and he's the second athlete to successfully defend his pole vault title, also winning in Tokyo. Continuing with discus final, and that was the women's discus final. It was Marilee Ullman of the United States of America, great distance of 69.59 in the women's discus. That was good enough for a gold for her. Second position, Ben Fing of China, and third it was Sandra Alkasovic. She is from Croatia. On to gymnastics, and it was Simone Biles of the United States. She's the story of the gymnastics. She was in action again, trying to get an 8th gold medal, but it was not to be. It was a silver for her this time. That was on the floor discipline, and the winner was a Brazilian. That was Rebecca Andrade. She won the gold in the floor discipline. Simone Biles second, and then Jordan Charles was in the silver, was in the third position. That was for bronze. And looking at cricket now, that is not part of the Olympic Games. It is leading up to the SA20, that is the 20-over international season that will start in early January in South Africa. It is the Paarl Royals that confirmed that Josh Butler will not play for them this season, or for the new season, because of commitments for England. It was also announced that Joe Root, that also play for England, will indeed play for the Paarl Royals in the 2025 season. The first game start on the 9th of January. Then also to close off international sports news, it is West Ham in the international or the English Premier League that confirmed that they've signed German striker Nicolas Füllkrug, and he came over from Borussia Dortmund, and it is West Ham that will play their first game of the new season against Aston Villa, Saturday the 17th of August. That's international sports news for today. Hope you have a great sport day. We talk international sport again tomorrow. Goodbye.
And with that, we've come to the end of the broadcast. Thank you for joining Africa Good Morning on this beautiful Wednesday morning. From me, Glenn Rashipura. Until next time.